This is From Now On. I'm Lisa Phillips. Just a heads up, this episode contains discussions of coercive control, which includes psychological, financial, sexual, and emotional abuse. Some may find it upsetting, so please take care of yourself. Today we're going to have a deep discussion to shine a light on coercive control, a form of domestic abuse that isn't marked by bruises or broken bones, but by invisible chains, psychological warfare, and a slow erosion of identity and freedom. Last night I was watching the Gabby Petito story. Her heartbreaking story sums up what coercive control is. At the end of the movie, it stated that 50% of women will experience intimate partner violence at some point in their life. That statement and what Gabby went through before her murder made me so upset I couldn't sleep. Coercive control is only recognized in 10 states in the United States right now. That's not enough. Too many victims suffer in silence, manipulated, isolated, and gaslit into submission by their abusers. Their pain is overlooked, their stories dismissed, even by law enforcement, until they fight back, until they break free, until they speak up and fight for their freedom. But often, like Gabby's story, some don't break free so easily. And I also know this all too well, because I've lived it. I know what it's like to be isolated, to have my world shrink down to just one person controlling everything. My husband cut me off from my family, made sure I barely spoke to my friends. I was the one working, taking care of our son 100% of the time, exhausted beyond belief. I paid the bills, I cooked, I kept everything running, and still, it was never enough. He belittled my modeling work, threw out the magazines I was very proud of, ripped up any images he didn't approve of. I felt trapped. I hated being married to this person, but I had no way out. I had no family support at that time, and no one to help me escape until I did, but it took me 4 years to do so. And that's why today's guest story hits so hard, because she's lived this too. She came to California with a dream, just like I did, only to be ensnared in a nightmare. Her intelligence, talent, and resilience were weaponized against her by a man who used manipulation as his greatest tool. She too was isolated, made to doubt herself, stripped of financial independence while being told it was all for her own good. She was belittled, betrayed, and surveilled. Her very existence controlled by a man who called it love. But she did not break. She fought, not just for herself, but for her children. She fought to end the cycle of intergenerational trauma, to reclaim her identity, and to show the world that even in the face of extreme tyranny, it is possible to win. Her story is one of survival, of courage, an unwavering determination. And today she is here to share it with us. Not just as a survivor, but as a beacon of hope to those still trapped in coercive control. To those listening who feel unseen, unheard, and alone, know this: you are not alone. There is help. There is a way out. And together we can push for change so that coercive control is recognized for what it is: abuse. Welcome to From Now On. Today's guest is foremost a devoted mother committed to ending intergenerational trauma in her family. Jane Doe is also an award-winning academic, athlete, and artist with a passion for outdoor adventure, meditation, and prayer. A digital producer and designer by professional trade, a recovering codependent and domestic violence survivor. Her recent experience within the criminal and legal system have been a roller coaster of disappointment and victory. Driven by desire to empower others, Jane is deeply committed to raising awareness about the insidious nature of coercive control abuse, advocating for accountability, justice, and supporting survivors on their healing journey. I am grateful today to welcome Jane Doe to From Now On. Welcome, Jane.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm ready.
Good.
I feel ready.
Good. So there's something that you had said when we had first spoke. You said, my goal is trying to create awareness so more states can recognize this as a form of violence. You're speaking about coercive control.
Yes.
And the scars that leave psychological, emotional wounds, and differentiating that from what most people think domestic violence looks like.
Yes.
Tell me, how were you first introduced to your ex?
I met him at his kitchen table. Very serendipitously, I met one of his coworkers, and he invited me to come down and work on a project, a film project that followed a medical team opening a hospital for the Dalai Lama. It was a very heart opening experience, and I vividly remember on the drive down this individual saying, meeting is going to change your life. And I did not have a clue, and I shook it off what that would ultimately mean.
What was your first impressions of him?
Commanding. He had just finished a 30-day Grand Canyon river trip, and glowing. He was surrounded by his friends. His presence is large. He was kind. He took to me very quickly. At that moment, he was rolling all these joints, and he rolled one over to me as like a small gesture, and I held on to that, and I think I still have it somewhere as a token of that first exchange.
Did you end up working on a project together?
Yes, actually. He started a production company. Looking back on it now, it's pretty funny. He titled his production company Carrot Stick Productions and joked about, the carrot and the donkey leading forward. And, I look back now and realize the deeper meaning to that name. Our lives immediately meshed. And I became his right hand, everything from his property manager to his legal assistant to production assistant, communications. I did his website. It was everything. Medical, his nurse. He went through multiple surgeries and had his 2 children.
Wow. So your relationship developed very quickly.
Very quickly. Lightning, faster than any relationship I'd had previously. I had plans to return to my town to do work, and he was very quick to cancel that and like, how can I get you to stay? He asked me to move in before we even had any sexual relationship.
So he had you move in even though you were just working for him?
Well, he invited me to stay on his property.
Oh, okay.
When I should say that. And at the time, I rented a house up in Oregon, but I also had this pop-up camper, and I brought it onto the property, and we lived within feet of each other for 3 weeks. But as soon as our relationship became intimate, it was move into my RV and stay with me. There's no reason you shouldn't.
Yeah, you're only a few feet away.
Yeah, I know.
Well.
Yeah, and it was, we're now intimate, and then now we're in this relationship, and now you work for me, and I mean, truly, I at the time didn't understand what codependency was. It was something that I was introduced to in the reckoning of this relationship, and it was like reading our lives, certainly.
So what was it like in the beginning, though? Were you more like infatuated with him, or you looked up to him as a mentor, as a boss?
Definitely. I mean, he fit so many characteristics of what I valued. And he was a Grand Canyon river guide. And for me, I grew up in that environment, whitewater rafting, had my first kayak at 12. So that's a huge level of competence.
Okay.
So being able to do 90 Grand Canyon river trips is that's where my father was. It's strength, it's overcoming challenges. And then he was also a multi-award winning cinematographer, and that was my first medium art love is photography and videography.
So he checked a lot of boxes.
He checks all the boxes,
and as adventurous as you were.
Exactly. We shared that way. I mean, on hindsight, He was not being honest about
Mm.
some of the values. I grew up introduced to yoga and meditation in my teenage years, and he would
Mhm.
talk about, oh, yes, that's something that I'm interested in. And later he would come back and um, make fun of it.
So he's pretending to be
Uh,
interested in it. He really wasn't.
yeah, I grew up in an environment where I saw the good in people.
Mhm.
And I looked for the good in people. And I realized that that brings the vulnerability piece in because I projected that onto
Mm.
him
Right.
and I wanted it to work.
But how did you feel in the beginning? Because he checked the boxes, work wise, adventure, and all these things were like perfect for you. But how did he really make you feel?
Right, right. I
Were
could
there
do
red
no.
flags?
Yes, there were. I could do no wrong. As soon as he had my phone number, it was text messages regularly. You are the most amazing human being that I've ever met. You are so
Love
unique.
bombing.
Oh, it was, and I would return it. I mean, we went back and forth in regards to
Yeah.
talking about, how serendipitous this was, our meeting. He showed me
Oh, so you felt the same way.
the spot that I was in when I met him I was vulnerable. I had
Mhm.
just left a relationship, and there was some sexual trauma in that relationship.
Okay.
And so one of the early conversations that we had before we actually became intimate was around the sexual trauma that
Mm.
I experienced.
So you shared a lot of that with him.
I did. And
Mhm.
and he was incredibly kind, holding my hand, looking deep in my eyes. And then
Oh boy.
later in the courtroom,
Yeah.
he would flip that
Yeah.
all
And they
around.
use it
And
against you.
so finding these vulnerabilities and then using them
Yeah.
against me later. It's just,
Yeah, that's incredibly hurtful.
well, yes,
Mhm.
a betrayal of
Mhm.
trust. And,
Yeah.
it's nearly cliche.
Yeah, because it wasn't genuine in the beginning.
No,
Yeah.
or
And that's kind of
perhaps
what
even
your
was.
vulnerability is like. And you want someone who's genuine, who listens to you, and that's what, warms you up to him. It
On
makes you fall in love with him.
Yes, honors you,
Mhm.
respects you,
Yeah.
but there was a lot there that was a game of how deep can I sink my claws into
Mhm.
you,
Mhm.
and creating this facade of who he was.
Right. Yeah, well, he was trapping you kind of from the beginning. I mean,
Oh
moving you
yeah,
in after 3 weeks is pretty quick.
yeah, yeah. It was.
I mean, you could have stayed in the camper across the way for
Yes,
for a while. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Returning to work with my
Yeah.
clients. I mean, as
Mhm.
soon as I was onboarded by him, I let go of some of my clients. Then I get pregnant. I let
Mm.
go a
No, you were
lot more of
letting
my
go of you
clients.
were letting go of your business a little
I
bit
was
to take care
absolutely.
of his business.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot of promises of our big wedding, of taking care of you, of, my ideal
Mhm.
situation is for you to be a homemaker.
This is all coercive control.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Isolating you.
yeah. The social
Yeah.
isolation piece, meeting my friends, but threatening to, on our way up to meet my friends, he threatened to turn the car around. And I don't
Mhm.
even remember what disagreement we got into. And when we get there, he disassociates
Uh-huh.
and goes into the other room and lays and takes a nap,
Like
which,
antisocial?
yes.
Yeah.
And what's so funny about that was he talked about a relationship that he had in the past and how he was so critical of
Mhm.
how she had done that. He had introduced her to her friends and then she isolated and went to the other room. And he did the exact same thing. So the projection, and certainly in hindsight, the
Mhm.
projection of what he says and what he does and the criticisms that he has of me and of everyone else is so much of the struggle that he's going on with.
It's like crazy making behavior.
Oh,
Yeah. That makes you it's completely nuts. Yeah.
it was balancing this
Mhm.
one example of you're the most incredible parent, and then that same example would be you're a danger to our children,
Mhm.
to you're an incredible businesswoman, to you're a complete failure.
Yeah.
And I was of these two minds, and the cognitive dissonance
Mhm.
kept me trapped.
Yeah.
and having 2 young kids
Right. Yeah.
that were all I could do was spend my energy on them, and I did not have that time to reflect and understand what was going on. It took it took this incredibly rude awakening when everything came to a head just about a year ago now. Um, and if it didn't happen as dramatically as it did, I mean, I would most likely still be and still placating and still making excuses for it.
It sounds like you were in a trauma bonded relationship.
But yes,
Would you say that?
I would say that. Speaking of the red flags that were early into the relationship, he was talked about being a high profile, and so step away from social media. And
Well,
I did.
you're saying, like, using his power to control you, like, I'm this powerful person, so you shouldn't be on social media.
Yeah, I have stalkers.
Yeah.
You need to.
Did he ever have stalkers that you saw?
There is a woman that he was in a relationship with when I first met him, and I would ultimately go and help him get a restraining order against her. I read all of their communications.
Okay.
All the sexting, all the everything, to help inform this case, because we did go with lawyers.
Right.
I was there. And she did have some stalking behavior, but when you read through how he baited her,
I was about to say.
oh, just like, this is what I want. I'm going to take you to the Emmys.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you to Hawaii. Please send me more photos. And it was just this emotional grab.
It was almost like she was trauma bonded to him.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they were like pen pals. He was out at sea when this was happening. So that was one of the first red flags, was that relationship that he had. The social isolation. You need to step away from social media, and it's for your own good, to protect yourself.
Tell me about how he worked the system.
It was like a game. It was absolutely a game. From tax evasion to government buildings to growing marijuana totally illegally, asking me to call AmeriGas and cancel the account, and there's going to be a $200 cancellation fee that's in the contract, and it's like your job to have not pay it, and is it you're a failure if you don't do that? And I was like, I can't break a contract, and and it's so interesting because I was so square. We were like oil and water in so many ways. I grew up being this academic, athlete, focused, follow the rules.
Right.
I mean, vanilla. I mean, you do
Right.
what you do. You operate in ethics,
Right.
and you follow the rules. But that also played to his favor because I would follow all his rules.
But that's what he liked about you.
Yeah. Yes. And I would do all that work. So when he got busted by the county, so when we announced our pregnancy at a Friendsgiving event, that's when things hit the fan. The stalker got worse. He got turned into the county for these violations, 8 building violations. And that's when I jumped into this role of his legal assistant. And I read through the entire building code to get him back. And I was pregnant. He's like, go in there. You look really sympathetic. I want you to be the face.
Wow, he was super controlling with everything you were doing to protect him.
Correct.
Were you scared to say no? Were you in fear of him, or you were doing these things because you still loved him and you weren't quite sure of his control yet?
I knew the things that he asked me to do were putting me at risk.
Okay.
And I'm a recovering codependent. I definitely identify with that.
Okay.
And so as I wanting to follow the rule, I mean, and just, I'm nearly a masochist in the sense of like putting people, just doormatting myself, just the more that I bled out for other people. And I was like a badge of honor. And it's just, not understanding
Okay.
boundaries and not understanding my own self-worth, and feeling like I'm serving this higher good by being selfless. So and that's such a tricky place because it's in my spiritual and religious philosophy, trying to not serve myself, but
I
it's
see.
so hard because it's like this is where I got myself into so much trouble. I knew what he was doing was wrong.
See, he's using you, but you're almost like okay with it because you didn't feel good about yourself. You were codependent. Yeah. And all these things you were blaming
It's
yourself.
hard. Well,
What you're describing is pretty common.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was reading Invisible Chains, a wonderful book about coercive control abuse. It came out about 10 years ago. I mean, it was reading this entire story. And it's like a textbook experience of I was in a vulnerable place when I met him. He saw that. He just dug his claws in.
People pleaser.
Oh, absolutely. But that's like how I've won my awards. That's how I've succeeded was as a team leader, as a team captain, was like, it's empowering other people.
Yeah, it's a
But,
good
I
thing. It's a
lose
positive
myself.
thing. It's a positive thing too.
It can be. It can be positive to that point, but I didn't understand that boundary, or at least I felt like if he was on my side.
But he's abusing that part of
Right.
you. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with what you're describing.
Yeah.
It is a positive thing in work and I would think all aspects of life. But when someone's taking advantage of it, that's where the problem lies. And he was extremely taking advantage of your vulnerability and your willingness to do whatever for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
for your
was-
family, as you should. How often did he bring up his high profile as a way to persuade you to do certain things in your relationship?
Pretty often. Whether it was the sacrifices that he was making for the family from his job to my high profile, you need to get off to social media, to you're not taking a nap is selfish. I don't sleep when I'm working, and you can sleep when you're dead.
Oh, you're not allowed to be tired. Yeah.
No, and
I
he
remember, I remember that in my marriage. I was never allowed to be tired while I was taking care of the kids and cooking and doing everything.
So he compared himself and what he did to everything that I was doing. You have it so easy. Like that you should
so
be
easy while you're doing everything.
His family joked that he was my first child. I could not compare my experience. The financial stuff. It's a privilege for you not to know the financial information. It's a privilege, and I was like, truly, it brings more anxiety for me to not know the status of our foundation, our resources. And he just, nope, absolutely not. We're not. I'm not going to share that with you. It's a privilege. It's going to stay that way.
Yeah, because he was making a lot of money at this point.
So when he's working, it's about $8,000 a week.
Which is a lot of money.
He's at the top of his pay grade. And for what he does, absolutely. He would work 5 to 6 months out of the year, and then he would be home the rest of the time. And it's so funny that it was a bit of a break to have him gone because I guess, again, as his family joked, he was my first child. And
gives you a break a little bit.
I had more, at least I could sleep in peace.
Right,
There was
exactly.
a lot of demands.
But what was he like when he was gone? So he was away on the boat?
His communication was, sometimes it would be all the time, and then I might not hear from him for like 30 hours. There were rules around communication.
He gave you rules?
Yes, there were. You need to respond to me immediately. You have to put down anything that you're doing so that you can completely focus on me. And then it was like a moving goalposts. So, he would text me and I was in the middle of something and I was like, okay, finish what you're doing, put it down, be done so I can be in a place. Okay, the kids are satisfied. They're going to be in some place I won't be bothered for 20 minutes. Finish that. And I call him and he was like, you didn't respond to me immediately. It's a common courtesy that you should respond in that text message and be like, yeah. So it was a lot of gaslighting around following the rules, but I didn't get it right.
Oh my gosh.
And so those goalposts would move. when he came home, I mean, he self-describes as the most impatient man in the world, and OCD. So
Yeah.
his environment needs to be
Oh my
clutter-free,
gosh.
and
So he would get mad at you if things were out of place. And
absolutely. So if it's like if I wasn't, and if I was picking up after the kids, then I was doing them a disservice.
you must have had so much anxiety all the
It,
time.
it was a lot of pressure to satisfy my children's
Yeah.
needs
Mm-hmm.
and then satisfy his needs. You wouldn't know how he was going to react. Like sometimes he would joke a little bit, and other times it's like, this is a pigsty. And I didn't know how he would react, but I knew that I needed to get this done and serve him.
What about on his side when you text him? Could he take forever to get back to you? What about when you call him? Was he giving you the same respect, or?
It's a good
I
question.
mean, it's not very respectful that you have to drop everything to answer.
Yeah,
him,
there's
but,
no way.
Or was
Right,
there
right.
like days you didn't know where he was or hear from him?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I mean that the nature of his work, I understood that in that way.
Okay. So you didn't suspect any cheating?
I knew that there was this Hollywood aspect to his reality TV show producer life.
Okay.
And I also knew there was this cast member culture. And of course, he would talk about how cast members would do infidelities and how wrong they were, and then he would talk about his ex-wife and her infidelities and never talked about his
own,
at
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And I didn't find out about this until after we split, and people came out of the woodwork to talk to me and tell me these things. And it was like everything that I had suppressed, like I knew was probably happening, but it was like they confirmed it. It was, Facebook sex parties, prostitutes, infidelities. It was all there. I was scared to confront that reality.
Yeah, of course.
And I very much, so much, I prayed so much for, having this life. And I was focusing so much on trying to manifest a peaceful family life.
Yeah, I could see that.
In this,
Right.
in the midst of this in bubble. And I fought so hard to have him not go back to work. I was like, please, like I can make as much, if I work full time, I have the potential to make as much money as he does.
Sure.
He gets condensed work, but at least it's not life-threatening, and it's incredibly stressful in that environment. But it was like a demasculating experience for him, for me to be like, just let me, I'll take that burden off. And I thought that I was like, you get to be with your kids. Like,
Right.
this is a wonderful opopportunity. Like we'll switch, for a period of time and take that burden off of you, and you relax and be a full-time dad. And he wanted nothing to do with that.
No, because he wants to control you. He doesn't want you off working and making your money so you can actually get away from him. But it seems to me at this point, you weren't even really thinking of leaving him. You were believing everything he said. And you wanted everything to work. You were the perfect housewife.
Oh man, I tried.
And also focusing on young children as a full-time job.
That was that consumed so much of my bandwidth.
course.
And then when he was present, that was even more. I mean, and our first couples counselor, talked about this, talked about how I needed to reconnect with myself in this process of being a mom. And then, I mean, I had my son. I was pregnant 3 months after giving birth to my daughter. I didn't know it could happen that fast, but it did. So back to back to back, or back to back. I was serving everybody else, but I wasn't serving myself. And she was aware of it, and so it was compromising with him. Like, okay, so can I have a few hours? And it just, he would like in the counseling, yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. But then it would never happen.
No. Well, didn't you also say that like he was wanting to be intimate with you like right after you gave birth?
Yeah.
Which is really cruel.
It was, they had no time.
You're not, you have to, healing up. You're supposed to wait a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, about 10 days. Yeah. And it was the pressure. I mean, immediately. immediately wanting to return to that. And I did, I mean, everything but, vaginal. And I had
Mhm.
stitches
Oh,
from
gosh.
that. And,
So he knows
and
you have stitches and he's still.
yeah, still put the pressure on.
So would you say he's a bit of a sadist? Because I mean, sadists want to hurt you in so many
Yes.
different ways.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's a game.
Didn't you say that he envied like Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein?
Yes.
What does he envy about them?
Well, he was envious of your position.
The victims, the survivors.
He was like that. I would give anything to be chosen to be one of these women that were sex trafficked.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, and that was. I mean, it was like, what an amazing job.
I have never heard that a man would actually say he wishes he was like
Yeah.
one of the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
How lucky they are. Oh, I get goosebumps. How lucky these women were for being
Just in the presence of him.
in the
It
presence.
has nothing to do with the fact that
just all you have to
all
do
the-
is just have sex all day. And that's just like the greatest thing. I'm talking about a red flag. I mean, and that was, so that conversation happened on our way to a wedding. I was in the bridal party. I had my son was 4 months old. My daughter was 18 months old. And I read an article about Harvey Weinstein, and then we got into a conversation around rape.
Mhm.
And it unexpectedly escalated, him in defense of what rape is and defining it. And then he pulled the car over and around. He's like, get out. Like, get out. I'm done with you. Take the kids. Call your mom.
Because he didn't like your point of view?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that was a threat. Like, my sympathy for women who were pressured into sex by powerful men was a direct attack on what he was doing to me. And in retrospect, I wasn't aware, but and also who he admired.
Yeah. He's also teaching you not to speak up for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially about things like that he's very much into and respects, looks up to. You need to stay quiet about that. That's kind of sickening, though, because most guys would agree that, rape is rape.
It's not normal.
No, it's not normal.
Absolutely not normal. And probably, and then going back a little bit further, the first red flag to that,
Yeah.
we met one of his
Major red flag.
But yeah, one of his mentors would talk about getting off the Grand Canyon and going to bunny ranches and being like worshipped. Like, oh, they loved it when I came. Wow. And we
call that a copycat.
Okay.
Yeah. These men that want to be like an Epstein or a Weinstein. Yeah.
Interesting.
We had a whole show about the copycats.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of men out there that want to have that type of feeling of going to the bunny ranch or whatever it is and having all these women all over, even though they're paid to do that.
Right.
But it makes them feel really, really good, even though they're devaluing and it's an abusive situation.
Absolutely. The whole concept of being a piece of property and I'm going to treat you, control your finances, control your social circle, control your access to anything.
Control your body.
Body, everything. And
didn't he want you to do OnlyFans?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is crazy to me.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
This is your husband, the father of your kids, and he's talking about you doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad you could smile about it.
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No.
And it's just, yes, I do. I'm sure it's a little bit of me emotionally guarding, but also he joined OnlyFans.
Oh, he joined it.
He joined OnlyFans, and then he shared
as a performer
with me,
or just the watcher.
As a watcher.
Okay.
And he with his personal professional email, which I was like, and shared it with me. And he's like, this is what I want you to get into. I'm following these women. You need to learn. You need to educate yourself so that you can. So it was like on the guise of education.
But what were the women doing?
Interestingly enough,
like what was his thing he was into?
It was domination.
Okay. I know they have fetish or a kink or whatever, so I wanted to know what it was.
Which is so interesting because he wanted me to be so submissive, but in the bedroom, it was the exact opposite.
Right.
I would try try to get into character
Yeah, of
for
course,
this, 'cause
for
it was
your,
not, was
for your
not
man,
like,
of course, I get
right,
it. Yeah.
and then but whenever I would kind of laugh and try to,
Yeah,
he
you
would just be
can't-
like so pissed. He would get so
Oh
pissed
yeah,
at me.
you're breaking character.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, this is serious.
Oh my gosh.
But so it
that's
was
so humiliating too, you know? Oh, I know.
I was trying to be everything that
I
he wanted
know.
in all the ways. I wasn't intimidated by him looking at other women and him. I feel like I got that beat out of me, like jealousy
yeah.
got beat out of me at a young age.
Mhm.
And I was just like, listen, all I want is an adult relationship where it's like,
Yeah.
if I can't satisfy your needs,
Okay.
I don't feel like it's because it's something wrong with me.
Right. Okay, good.
It's
That's
just,
good.
it like, just be an adult about this. And like, if you want to, if your needs aren't being met, let's be honest about it. But you don't need to lie. You don't need to cheat. It's not necessary. Let's
Yeah.
not have a relationship like that.
Yeah.
Like, please, like it's that I'd been cheated on and
Yeah.
deceived and all of that. And it's just like, we're adults here. There's no shame in kinks. There's no shame in that.
It's funny though that you can say that, and a lot of times you can say that to a man or to your partner, but they just like the lying and cheating and stuff.
Oh,
and doing the
yeah.
stuff behind your
Oh,
back. They know they can tell you
yeah.
because you're okay with it, but they like being sneaky about it all.
I wrote it very much so. It was like, even, when we were in counseling, and he was so proud of finally coming forward with the truth around this manipulation. And it was just like, oh, you caught me.
Oh wow, he actually said that.
Yeah, well, he didn't say like those words, but in regards to when
Usually they don't like it when you've caught them.
oh, well,
When the mask has finally come off and you're like, I know who you are.
There's probably both happening there. I mean, the retaliation in regards to like calling him out and realizing what was going on, that was certainly happened and escalated. The most disturbing part was the weaponization of the children. And again, it's coming back to projection. He had talked to me about some of the trauma he experienced in childhood, and he did the same thing to his kids. The abandonment.
You mean his father?
Well, more around his mom.
Oh, okay.
So he felt abandoned by his mom.
Yeah, it's a deep wound.
And then so he does that. He forcibly pulls the children out of my life, pulls the mom out of his own children's lives, and perpetuates that abuse. And that's where it's like, oh, I get chills. The greatest thing that I can do is to be aware of the intergenerational trauma and to end it, have it stop with me. And I recognize the challenge in this, and I recognize bringing the good, taking the evil and turning it into good, which has been so much of the healing process and this journey of simultaneously experiencing the most incredible heartache and betrayal while simultaneously having such an incredible place of gratitude. I have been aligned with some people that have helped me. I have understood my own wounds, understood what got me into this position. And that self-discovery process, I am so grateful for.
Yeah.
So, and if it didn't go down so badly, I would still be in this position. I would still be in that.
You had to do what you had to do. A lot of times when you are that perfect, loving, great mother and they know it, that's what they want to destroy about you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you have to fight the hardest. I went through that with my children, having to go to their father's house a week out of every month, and it was excruciating. It was so, and it didn't even go to him. It went to the grandparents. I feel you when you're saying that.
Fine energy when you're a mom and you know your children are wrapped into this, and just the innocence.
And they were so young at the time.
Yeah. I mean, they watched this abuse.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah. We had a 6-month separation. And having them ripped from my arms,
Mm.
and that perpetuated trauma that he experienced. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it
There's so
is,
much damage to the kids
oh,
being away from, yeah,
the
from you for
anxious
so long.
attachment style,
Mm-hmm.
and the burden, it's just the burden that's put on them. And it's like, I'm an adult, I can do this. I've got, I
Mm-hmm.
have a strong meditation healing
Good.
practice.
Yeah.
I have that self-awareness. I've got a great counselor. I've got support groups. But these kids, their brains are just developing,
Mm-hmm.
and the parodying of the abuse that is occurring as, I mean, this is psychological and emotional abuse with coercive
Oh, for
control,
sure.
and what he's doing to the children. And so the children are also, although they're protected under my domestic violence restraining order,
Mm.
the court still wants them to have a relationship with their dad, and I
Of
don't
course. Yeah.
object to that. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, what he is telling them,
Mm-hmm.
the abuse that he is still doing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can't
I think that's
protect
child
him.
abuse when they're saying horrible things about the mother and when you're fighting
Absolutely.
so hard just to be in their life.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
has to do with the two of you. It has nothing to do with the kids. You know,
Oh, yeah.
these little kids, they can't understand it. They don't,
No.
and they just want to believe what daddy says too.
Yeah. Things like,
Yeah.
I have a son and a daughter, and and he tells my daughter that I love the son more than her,
Oh God.
and that I'm a liar, and that I was arrested because I was a bad mom, that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
school because I'm a bad mom, that I did these abusive things that never happened. And he's telling this, I mean, he told them that I was arrested. They're 5 and 6 years
Yeah.
old,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up. My daughter most recently was violent with me. And she said, Daddy said I had to protect myself from you.
Mm.
And so it's like she is trying to, we're trying to repair this bond,
Mm-hmm.
but the father is perpetuating that abandonment.
He's putting that wound, the abandonment wound in them
Oh, and he's just
that he has.
ripping. Yes, exactly. And that's the intergenerational trauma. I understand. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I know that hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that has helped me have compassion and this forgiveness that is a daily practice,
Yeah.
a daily practice to breathe.
No, I believe it's important.
Oh,
A lot of women won't agree, but I believe that forgiveness, then letting go of all that. Yeah. So you don't keep it.
it's for me. Honoring my boundaries, not tolerating this. I mean, that's my self-love and self-worth is coming in.
Yeah.
Tracking this and holding his feet to the fire, empowering myself to take as much action as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And with the children, it's so challenging to navigate this when they tell me about what he's saying. I can't tell you, it's a secret. And it's like, there's no secrets at this house. But it's like, I have a high conflict parenting coach. She's amazing. And she's helped me navigate this, because it's like, it does not help for
Mm-hmm.
me to
Yeah.
be honest with them. I have to protect them.
So let's go back because the escalation happened in the beginning of your relationship, a few months in when you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Can you share with the audience what your first big argument was?
Yeah. We had gotten pregnant, and I've wanted to have a doula. I was away. I was in California. I'm going to stay in California. I was away from my support group,
Mm-hmm.
and we were walking in the redwoods. And at the time, I had my own money,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I would love this. I would love to. It's a birthing coach, and he immediately was hesitant, and I was like, it'll cost like $3,000 to $5,000 or so. I've got that money. I'll pay for it. Um, and he got angry, and I couldn't understand like why he would object to helping this pregnancy be as positive for the baby and me. You know, it's my first pregnancy. I'm away. And he talked about the money a little bit, and then he stormed off and he left me on the trail, just alone in tears
And pregnant.
and confused about why this request was something that would escalate. So, gosh, I think probably half an hour, 45 minutes later, arriving back in the RV, he was there, and he had calmed down a little bit. And he told me that he wanted to be my doula, and that if we had someone in that role, then that he would feel disconnected from me. And I was like, what a sweet sentiment.
Yeah.
And I dropped it. I was
could
just
see
like,
that.
nope, I understand. Okay. Like, you want to have that role. You want to,
And if it was genuine, it would be a great thing.
No, it was
And
like,
if that was a complete manipulation, first of all, he can't be a doula. Trained doula. I mean, they train for years and years to be a doula. But sometimes the father, the baby can be really great and comforting and give you massages and make you feel really good.
Never.
So was he a great doula?
No massages. No even maternity photos.
The most important, sensitive time.
It was all.
Because that's the difference of a good birth or a bad birth, is who's in the room with you and who's giving you support.
Oh, absolutely.
I can relate to that because that's what happened too with me. With my, I wanted to have a doula too. Yeah, I did all the classes, did like hypnobirthing, and he didn't. I was so excited about it. Had my whole birth plan, and he wasn't on board with anything, and he was no help whatsoever in the room.
Wow.
And because of that, it was like, took me a long time to labor, and I was so stressed out. So it's really important who you have in the room, and that person is huge.
Absolutely.
You need that support.
Yeah, if your family is not available. I mean, my poor mom just driving down, trying to make it to the birth.
Yeah.
But it's a 9-hour drive for her to get there. And but yeah, I mean, he never took maternity photos. I mean, this is a professional award-winning and he never, no massages. I mean, I remember one of his friends gave me a foot massage, and that was the only experience that I had. I was, I had a plan. I was like, I've been planning for this for wanting to be a mom. And instead I was in the courtroom getting a restraining order. I was going to the county, getting his building codes up to snuff. He was going under surgery, and I was his nurse for his surgery. And again, you don't understand it till hindsight, but it was like jealousy of that attention.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it till months or years later until you look back at things like that. Especially also like red flags are super important in the beginning, but when you're pregnant and this is the person you're going to have a baby with, then you kind of say, you kind of overlook it a little bit.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, because you have to.
Oh, I know. You're stuck with. This is yes, absolutely. And that was one of the conversations we had early on. I was like, listen, if I'm 36, if I get pregnant, I'm keeping the baby. I had very open conversations early on, and just it's amazing that it ended up happening. Again, it's like the greatest blessing, and I try to focus back on this. My children are healthy, and we're working on the mental health piece right now, but they're just the greatest gift, and I will always be honoring that contribution. But I mourn that I did not have I just
a good birthing experience.
Good birthing experience. Good partner.
That's so funny. I feel the same way too. With my births, I never had that amazing birth, with a loving partner there. And to have that full, because it's such an amazing experience, but to have that full circle would be so nice to have. I never had it either. Even on my third birth, I gave birth in a bathtub. all by myself. The midwife came in at the last moment, and it was the most beautiful experience. But again, I was alone, you know.
Oh.
But it was better than him being in the room. I was like, I'd rather do it all alone, you know, than have someone who's a negative energy in the room who just wants to see you, you know, suffer. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, or resentful for the
Yeah.
attention,
Oh,
the
that's even
attention
worse.
that you're getting, and then you know now they have to compete with the
Yeah.
children because they want that.
Did he become a loving father?
Well, that's hard because I don't know how a loving father would do some of the things that he's done ultimately. And it's a pattern of behavior. After this relationship ended, after we ended, I reached out to his ex-wife and I was like, you know, hey, I want to say I think he's in love with you because of how he referenced you so more and more and more and more. And then, you know, why didn't he have a relationship with his children? I'm just curious.
Oh, children from the first marriage.
Yeah, so she
Okay.
had 2 children
Okay.
that came into the marriage, and when I emailed her twice and finally got a hold of her, and she was so paranoid. She was like, "What phone are you calling me
Oh
on?
gosh.
Where are you? Are you safe?
Yeah,
Like,
she's scared.
are you
She's-
sure
she
you're?"
was living in fear.
Oh, absolutely. She had absolute post-traumatic stress, and what she said to me was that her children wanted nothing to do with him because they thought he was going to murder their mom.
Oh my God.
And that was the beginning of the real personal fear around my safety. And when Dr. Singer did her evaluation, psychological evaluation of coercive control abuse, she talked about how 20% of coercive control relationship, the first act of violence is homicide.
Oh, meaning they've never had any violence before?
No, so the first act of violence will be homicide.
Yeah, that's scary.
And with the coercive control abuse, when you leave, that is the most dangerous time. And that is when I felt like my safety was there. And I came to this. I mean, I had for months when I realized that statistic and listening to his wife and other people coming out and being like, "Are you safe?
Wow.
Where are you?"
To our listeners at home, a lot of time when you meet someone and their father and they have absolutely no relationship with their children or one of their children, it's a huge, huge red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my sadistic boyfriend that I had that I speak about in this podcast, when I met him, his daughter, who was probably 20 years old, 19, 20, in college, had no relationship with him whatsoever. And I was like, oh, that's really weird, you know?
Yeah.
But then I found out really why, you know, and there's always a reason why a child normally would not talk to their parents if they love their parents. You know, so it's a huge red flag if you're dating someone or about to marry someone and they have no relationship with their children.
Oh, and they blame it on the ex-wife.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
They're always going to blame it on someone because they're always the victim.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But these are children, you know.
and
you're supposed to love and protect and adore your children no matter what.
Yeah.
A good, healthy man, person.
Yeah.
So,
and so these weren't his biological children. These were his stepchildren.
oh, they weren't his biological.
And he did the same thing to me that he did to her, the filming, the taking the children across state lines for a psychological evaluation to try to prove that the mother was unfit. And that's
Same thing.
exactly.
Did you know about that?
No. He was telling me that she's this horrible person that would, you know, guarded the children from him. And then at this point,
But
they're
the children,
20s.
yeah. So, but he was a stepdad. He had been living with those children probably for a while.
Yeah, they were together about 7 or 8 years, and they were young, 3 and maybe 5 or 6 when they first got together. And they got to, he was violent with her. And there's a police record of him totaling in a rage her car inside and out, and neighbors coming to check on them. And so I didn't know any of that. It was the story
would have been nice to have known that.
different, and his whole family too.
Well, it also shows how in relationships they can be different types of abuse and violence depending on, their energy with you
Yes.
or your past traumas or whatever it is they're feeding into. Because he was violent with her, but he didn't do that with you.
It was more physical
Yeah.
intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
mean, did throw
psychological with
things.
you.
Lots of psychological, emotional, financial, sexual, and the physical violence. The one most disturbing physical piece where we were in front of my children, playfully on a river trip, and I think I threw him off balance and he fell into the water, and then he grabbed me and held me underneath the water for.
What?
And this is, yes, in front of the family and the kid, like public humiliation. And that's definitely a thing.
Wait, he did that in
occurred.
front of people, adults?
Yeah. Held me underneath the water. And I'm a state record holding swimmer, whitewater kayaker, a lifeguard. I feel like that was one of the biggest shifts when I realized, I mean, that's physicality.
Yes.
That was the physicality part.
He was
going
going to drown you. He probably wanted to in that moment, but then he gave up or whatever because people are watching.
Right.
But it's because you almost embarrassed him. They don't like being embarrassed.
And you wanted to
fell off. Yeah.
Like, I have control over you and I could kill you in a heartbeat.
So did the kids see or other adults see you being held under the water?
I was under the water, so I'm not sure. But yes, they were present. Everyone was there.
They didn't say anything after?
There was a lot of that.
What?
A lot of that, from first meeting his sister, her saying, be nice to this one. And I had no idea what that would mean in the future, to a woman saying, he films you. Of course he's filming you. Of course. Like, are you dumb? Like,
what does that mean? What was he filming?
Lo and behold, these cameras that were set up were running 24/7, and I knew that they existed. They were there.
In the house.
Well, so we lived in the house to give birth to the kids, and then said that we couldn't afford to live in the house, and we had to move into the RV. So he has a Class A RV, and gosh, we probably spent over $60,000 remodeling it so that we could accommodate the kids. And on the guise of, we can't afford to live in this big, beautiful house on the acreage.
What?
So we're going to go live in an RV and rent the house out for income.
And remodel it for 60 grand?
Right. And I had, at the time I had no idea, and again, it's a privilege for me to not know the financial pieces, but he's buying the top end dryers. He'd be such a cheapskate, but then he wanted the nicest things. Like he had an Audi when I first met him, but his parents had to buy it for him.
Right.
It was so strange. And he talked about wanting the highest quality, but then for me, he would tell me we couldn't afford like iron medication for me or like multivitamins for me. It was such a strange dynamic. He used money. Look how much you're costing me.
Sheesh.
I'm just like, okay, I'll do better. You're shopping at Safeway. It's the most expensive store. I was like, Safeway.
Really? Has he heard of Air One?
I'm like, okay, I should be shopping at Grocery Outlet.
So controlling with some things, with other things that he wants, he can spend whatever he wants.
He self-identified as a control freak, absolutely OCD, impatient, and his family totally knew this. And it was just expected behavior.
But don't you think they knew that he was a control freak, OCD and all that stuff, but they didn't know how far it goes?
No, I don't know. And I don't think they believe my story at all. I absolutely not. They were in on it, on some of this abuse. Like his father would show up unexpectedly to check in, and then his, he cut off communication with me while he was at sea. And I was like, told his family, I'm like, listen, I'm concerned. I cut off communication. He hasn't spoken to his kids. This is not good. Have you heard anything from him? No, absolutely not. And he absolutely was still in contact with them and plotting this like takedown, as he knew on February 13th, so vividly.
A year ago.
A year ago. in our couples counseling session, he had threatened to leave the 3 sessions before. And the counselor's like, listen, you need to figure out, you're going to stay, you're going to go, you're going to stay and you go.
Was this after you threatened to leave?
No, I was.
So what was the pivot?
He
that
was
all of a sudden that he's wanting to.
Well, shoot, he threatened to blow his head off at sea. He threatened to not come home and stay in Alaska all summer.
Why did he threaten to blow his head off? Because that's pretty.
I know, and that was not the first time.
Oh, okay, so he was one of those that always say, "I'm going to kill myself if this."
In regards to like
that's
trying
another
to
manipulation.
grind, just trying to grind in like this. I'm a victim of my job, and it's so tough, and
Jeez.
And then he would laugh it off at counseling. So, and the second couples counselor that we had.
It sounds like he's working the counselor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, so much sympathy. Oh, my job is so tough.
He must be super charming.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. He knows what to say. He looks for what to say.
Mhm.
And if you looked at his LinkedIn profile, he says that he's a master of psychology. And he doesn't even have a GED.
No, but he's a master of psychology.
And he can get people to cry on camera like that and having them eating from it, literally eating from his hand and crying on camera. That's like, quote.
He means a master manipulator.
Yes. To getting people to making them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that he'll get this information that he'll then turn around and use against you, which happened in court. For me, the sexual trauma that I experienced in my last relationship that he was so sensitive to, then he used it as like me making false accusations about my ex. And I never went to the police about it. I should have.
Yeah.
But but I didn't. And so in court, he's trying to paint me as...
Yeah, but he's projecting because he was making false allegations about his ex-wife.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and I love the judge for this. The judge, as he went off on his narrative, and that was, he's a reality TV show. And the judge is like, stopped him repeatedly. This is not like normal conversation. You answer to facts, yes or no, and you say factual information. And thankfully, he has this narrative, and because his narrative includes some very audacious accusations, he said them, and we were able to use that information against him. Like this filming that he did of me, he's like, and she went in and she deleted those videos. And then he provided the records of when he gave me access to this camera that was in this playroom. And I didn't have access to that camera till a year after this particular video that he used as evidence was there. And then he even says that after 15 days, the videos disappear.
Very Epstein-esque.
Oh,
right. A lot of these men who think they're powerful will have all these videos all over,
Yeah.
watching every little thing just to use it against you later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So these cameras were running 24/7. I had no idea. They were part of this checklist that we would go through for security. It'd be like, okay, we're leaving the RV alone. We're going to turn on this camera, turn on this camera. It was part of the piece. And then we turn it off because we don't, we don't need, and it was
because you think it's for security.
It was for security. And the camera was in our bed.
What do you mean in the bed?
Literally in the bed.
What do you mean in the bed?
So it's like Class A RV. And we gave the kids the bedroom of the RV. And then we put a bed on over the dash that would raise and lower.
Okay.
And so the camera was literally on the front dash. And so when you lowered the bed down, I mean, it's our bed is in the front angle and then it goes out into the rest of the RV. And so, I mean, the realization that he has.
But you thought it was off.
I thought it was off.
But
There's
he was
no
recording
light.
everything.
He was recording everything. And then he was pulling videos off, like going back and reviewing it and pulling and keeping these videos.
Oh, sure. It's like it's catch you in a bad moment of you to use it against you.
And that's what, thankfully, in regards to this child endangerment charge, the judge was so quick to point out that the video that he used for the for the police for this investigation, he had been sitting on for 3 years. And the judge is like, so you knew, and you're just as liable for endangerment then if you knew about this and you continued to leave her, you continued to deny her any support with the kids, you're too broke, we can't pay for a babysitter, that's your job. This is what you need to do. And again, the video is not, I mean, I cry. I mean, I had to watch it 4 times in court. And in that moment when I was separated from my son and seeing it was 9 o'clock at night and trying to create space, like gone. He's not anywhere in there. And he claims that after I knocked my son off the couch in an impatient moment, I didn't even look up from my phone, but I knocked him off the couch. And then he says he ran in and coddled him and took him to the bedroom. He was like this hero afterwards. And I was like, why isn't that on the video?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like if you would, of course, if you're the hero in this, like, why didn't you include that on the video?
That's also strange too. Surveilling you. And then he's going to run in as the hero to grab your sons. That means he's watching the whole time?
Watching, or like he heard the cries. He claims that he heard the cries, and then he came running in to see what was wrong. And then I was just like, the video. And I was, I know. And I was like, well, why don't you have that moment on this video? Instead, you just have this, you know, I mean, he cut it off, I'm sure, the moment that I got up and started to console him. Right. And so it was like, again, he's a Emmy award-winning reality TV producer. Right. He knows how to manipulate that. You know, what is so interesting, the realization that the last 6 years of my life have been on video, but he took my diaries and was reading my diaries.
That is so
and then he uses that in court. He brings up.
How can he use that? That's your like private notes to yourself.
Right? But he brings up entries like,
it's a violation,
an incredible violation. And just, you know, and again, it's just like the lack of privacy, the lack of respect. And it's like I can do whatever I want, and I'm gonna use everything against you to humiliate you, because that's what he doesn't want. And I'm just like, I mean, talk about a raw experience of realizing that you have been just survey everything, your worst moments, and then your diaries, and this person who was, you know, you thought was protecting you.
Isn't it against the law?
Yeah. But apparently no one seems to care about that. And that's challenging. And that'll be a chapter that I'm going forward with is, you know, not being attached to the outcome, but it's standing up for myself. And although I've said this, and that's on court record, you know, the sheriff is like, it's a civil thing. It's a civil thing. And they even were gaslighting me and like, what's your evidence? I'm like, he got into my computer. We have a witness saying that he and his sister, helped by his sister, came in. He's dressed all in black, said he was in Alaska, or well, was claiming to be in Alaska, but had come home a week early and came into the house all dressed in black, got a hold of my computer, went into the calendars, went into my emails, deleted incriminating emails on his part, like that whole marijuana grow conversations, went in and deleted any evidence of that. And I'm talking to the police, and they're like, so you're saying that the only evidence you have is that they're missing? And I was like, yes, that's why. Like, that's not really evidence. And I was like, I don't know how to explain this to you. I have a witness saying, and I'm looking at the replies to emails, and it doesn't make any sense because the other ones are deleted. He only deleted certain ones, which show that there's a conversation happening, but there's so much of the substance that's missing. But again, it's like they, you know, and I asked to speak to a supervisor, and then he's finally like, oh, okay, we'll write it down, and we'll.
Well, did this happen before or after you ended the relationship?
So
after you ended the relationship, he didn't live there anymore.
Well,
he broke in a ninja suit and went through your files, your computer.
Yeah, his family knew that I was
that on camera?
In the dark. Right, because he set up an eavesdropping device on the front porch to record these conversations. I mean, so many conversations that I was having with my mom.
Trying to catch you in something.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I know
This is scary.
it was, and it's like, good luck, buddy.
Well, he had all the surveillance on you and he didn't get much.
No. And which is the kind of,
That shows how good natured you are, that.
got nothing to hide.
No,
I don't claim
exactly,
to be a perfect mom. I
Mhm.
don't.
No. Nobody's a
I
perfect mom.
It's absolutely hilarious to think that, this whole gang, his friends and his family are helping him as he's dressed in black coming to the house.
A lot of times the
And-
family does help and protect them.
when I'm separated from the kids, the sister is like, I'm your new mommy now.
I'm your new mommy.
And I'm in supervised visitation.
That's messed up.
The children stuff is the most
That's
challenging.
So what was the last straw for you?
The last couples counselor that we had gaslit me, which did not help. Was very sympathetic to his work situation and gave him a soapbox to really get his aggression out on me. And sometimes it'd be 20, 30 minutes into our session until I finally was prompted to validate him in that process.
Why did you have to validate him?
That was a part of it. You speak, okay, I hear that you're angry.
Okay,
I
like
hear
that.
that you're sad. So it's like a validating your feelings. And then, so after listening to that, listening to him unload, validating his feelings, and then I'll be like, well, hey, can we talk about him wanting to blow his head off?
Yeah.
And then he would start laughing, and the counselor is like, what? He took up so much of the air and time in these sessions to distract from some other things that are going on, like threatening not to leave. So the last straw, he cut off the credit cards so that I went to go fill up my gas tank and buy groceries, and I couldn't. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And he's like, it's my money. You have to start using your money. And I was like, what money? Like,
you were trying to get a job this whole time and he wouldn't let you.
Right, exactly. It was like, and if I did get one client. Oh my gosh, I remember this in the courtroom. I got one client and all that money went to contribute to what we're doing.
Of course.
Like all of it. So it was like, so we had this like, gosh, it wasn't even like 7 months into the end of our relationship. I was like, listen, I need to, I need to expect something. So like $1,000 a month was what they agreed. And he would only give me some $500 sometimes, or it would be like 7 days in, and he's making $8,000 a week. And I'm asking just for, this is to pay for the subscriptions that the kids had for their iPad, my Adobe subscription, because of my work that he was using all those tools.
So he's giving you the bare minimum amount.
Oh yeah. I mean, it wasn't, and I still had
also weren't allowed to grow your business to make money.
No, you wouldn't pay for.
You're so trapped.
We had been isolated in this RV for 3 years. The children didn't know what friends were. They were asking about it. And it was like, this is not healthy.
So the kids couldn't have play dates?
No, we would meet friends, and then we would be friends for like a week, and then they would disappear.
Wow.
And so it was just us. Would leave, and we would either be at my mom's house. We were able to participate and do extracurricular activities, and they would visit with my family, or it would be at his house and in the RV. But it was like but it'd be for a short period of time. They didn't have social friends at this point.
No, he didn't want the kids having friends because that would mean play dates. You'd have to go to other people's houses and you'd have conversations and you'd, give away a little.
That's interesting. And I'd never.
You probably didn't think of it like that, but that's like isolating you, keeping you away from everyone.
Other moms.
Using the kids as a tool. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's all on the guys.
Because kids should have tons of play dates.
Yes. And it was, we'd come across kids and the RV parks every once in a while that we were at, but I begged him over. I was like, please, the kids, school age now, we've got pre-K, let's do this. And as soon as we made that commitment to moving back in the house, I mean, it just exploded. And that's when, and one of the reasons why he was motivated to move out of the RV was that, having intimacy in a 300 square foot space And the kids, it's like the place is
No.
rocking, I mean, it wasn't like, it's not, and what he wanted me to do. And so he's like, yeah, okay, so we'll move into the house. And then like, we can
Right, yeah.
really like, whoa, and I was like, yeah, great.
Oh my gosh, didn't he want like sex 3 times a day?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. It was like, and when we first met, I mean, that was something without kids, it was like, I was
okay,
on board with that. I mean,
easier. Yeah.
and I think that has something to do with, I don't consider myself to be a not sexually active
Right,
person.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's fun, it's playful, but I mean, man, I thankfully have such a great, playful idea of what intimacy could be like. But it started to switch from, that's not what his style was. I mean, he liked that. Of course, he'd love any attention from
Right,
anybody. And he would
yeah.
talk about that. Like, I don't care if they're whatever, I'll sleep with anybody. And
Yeah,
I
but
was
3
like,
times a day is pretty
okay.
excessive.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then when you have kids, it's just like, finding that time. And then, it was like, well, that's what I used to do with my ex. And we used to do that. And then the OnlyFans, I have to go to OnlyFans because this is the only way they can get it out.
Well, he has a sex addiction, would you
Oh,
say?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Highly addictive
Because he's already
personality.
getting, everything he needs from you, but the OnlyFans on top of that, then when he's away on his trips, Lord knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, kind of what's going on.
Well, I
But
figured it out.
That's a bit of an addiction.
Yes.
Did he have a gambling addiction or any other type of addiction?
He was a very faithful lottery player. And I was just like, man, okay, whatever. There could be, we're broke, but $20 a week
That's an
on
addiction.
lottery.
Yeah.
And then it was like penny stocks. And he had a lot of success at point. We actually both had a lot of success. And
I don't think you guys were broke. I think he wanted you to think he was broke.
Oh yeah. Well, and I, and it's hard to say what was true because it was such a smoke and mirrors. I mean, he at one point confessed to me that he lost $150,000.
Oh, he was broke probably from the gambling. Now that would make more sense. Yeah.
And he would make as much as $30,000 a day, and then he would lose the same amount. I mean, and that's so true to his personality. I mean, being a thrill-seeking. I mean, he was a first descent kayaker on some of these rivers and exploring Southeast Asia. I mean, and I mean, he was a thrill seeker. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, that, and then if it wasn't that adrenaline rush, then it was the adrenaline rush from gambling.
Yeah. Impulsive.
And absolutely sex. And he was, at one point he confessed that he was self-aware, and he was like, he confessed to me that it's like, after I'm done with him, he couldn't wait for me to leave so that he could go do his thing.
Which is what?
I don't even know. I mean, the OnlyFans, yes, because I can see, because he gave me that access, and he was like, "This is what you need to do. You need to get educated." And I could see the messaging that he had been doing, and the money that he would give, and what he was into. But it was so funny because
he spent a lot of money on OnlyFans.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine. I imagine he has more than one account.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like.
These girls are making millions, so.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. Well, and then he wanted us to do it. He was like, this is a great way.
Like the couples thing.
Yeah. To do, yeah.
Well, the cameras are already set up.
Oh, I know. The cameras are set up. And then he sent me this, like, pressure to send him videos and photos was incessant. Wait a second.
If he's already filming everything without you knowing, how do you know he didn't use some of that for OnlyFans or other things?
And it became scary for me when I finally caved, brought up the courage. It's like, okay, I'm going to make a video that's like, that I think is like sexy and that empower myself. And I did it. And it was the first time I ever sent him a video. And he sent a video in return to me, and it was so different than anything he'd ever sent me before. He never looked at the camera. It was what I wasn't into, and he knew that I wasn't super into it. I did it, but I just super into it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like he's on OnlyFans. Like this is shot not for me. This wasn't made for me.
Wait, so he was on it?
I don't know. I can't. But
Are you saying he sent a video of himself or somebody else?
He sent a video of himself that was
never
addressed me.
Too professional.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and not like, I mean, normally the video is like in connecting with me, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was just like, this is me doing this act, and it was. Like anonymous. And I was like, wow, that's so different than anything he's
So,
ever
yeah.
sent me.
So your spidey senses went up. You were like, what's going on here?
So he couldn't get me to do OnlyFans, but
He was doing it. Possibly.
fill in the blank. But it looked like that. Certainly that video, I mean, it wasn't for me.
Wow.
And I don't know why he would want to. I mean, he might be into doing that stuff for himself, but with the whole OnlyFans and the pressure for me to do it.
He'd probably just seen what your reaction was to it.
Oh, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So he sent me a video of this woman that was on the boat with him. And it's very rare to have a female on the boat. And she was flirting with him. And I was like, why did you?
What do you mean you sent a video? How did you get a video of that?
Well, he was just like, he did this camera and she's like, you know, I mean, flirting with him. And I'm like, why did you send me this video?
Who was taking the video?
He was taking this video
so he's messing
of
with
her.
You. He's messing with you.
Yeah. I mean, it had everything to do with also comparing me to his ex-wife and his sexual relations with his ex-wife. You know, and you know, again, I'm just like, just
he's just trying to make you go. He's making you go insane.
And it's my fault. Like I'm the one that's not engaged.
But it's not your fault.
Subscribed to. And that's so funny because I was like, I feel, he was great. Like I feel satisfied in that way, other than, you know, and I'm doing my best to provide for him in that way. It was bizarre.
That is bizarre.
And then the grooming of wanting to do that and the pressure to participate. I mean, and I know I'm not alone. You know, I know there's other women out there where it's also subtle. It's the smoke and mirrors that's so subtle to get you to inch your way forward. One boundary, then another boundary, then another boundary. And to test that, yeah, like as you said, how would you react? How are you going to react to this? Did you catch me yet? Can you tell that I'm enjoying OnlyFans? Can you tell that I slept with this chick?
No, he likes messing with you, messing with people, manipulating people. It's just a one big, huge game to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's so sadist about it.
I know. I hurt people.
But it's not an excuse.
No, absolutely. And I don't, I mean, and that's so much of why you know, enabling this behavior and wanting to share my story so that anyone else who might connect with these experiences that are similar, because it is such a textbook experience of the coercive control abuse, that they know that definition. I don't even know that definition. I mean, my sister is the one who sent me an article about coercive control abuse, and it was written by my now lawyer, who is an incredible hero to me.
That's good that you have an attorney that understands that.
She got it, and she knew it before. I mean, she predicted.
Right.
She predicted his behavior.
Right, because it's only in 10 states.
Oh yeah,
that it's acknowledged in court.
Yes.
Was it in your state?
Yeah. So California, Gavin Newsom. Thank you, Gavin. He brought it into the family law code. So it's not criminal. It's only recognized in family code.
Okay.
And 10 states recognize, it's a start, and 10 recognize it. And it's so interesting because people, they get it and they understand that coercive control abuse can be way worse than, okay, I mean, it's so hard to, I don't want to make a comparison.
No, but that's okay. You can say that.
But the psychological and the emotional damage that can occur that's so subtle and so long and prolonged and can keep women in these situations. It's a hard recovery.
Yeah, your entire relationship was coercive control.
Yeah.
From the beginning to the end.
From the beginning.
It's still going on.
Yeah, and it's still happening. And now my children are parroting some of that abuse. And so it's you're working with my high conflict parenting coach around my awareness of how I react.
Yeah, and your cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
Right? Because you have this side and you have this side, and which one
it's so
flip-flopping all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you really loved and cared about him. You were trying to do everything you could to make him happy, but that was his control he had over you.
When it was good, it was good.
Is that like half the time?
That's a good question. No, I wouldn't say it was half the time. Uh, because so much anxiety, but it's also you have that cognitive bias where it's like you recall a lot of the negative pieces. So I'm self-aware
Good.
in that way. So we worked well as a team because I was subservient. And that's some of the things he started sending me, these trad wife videos.
What?
Again, these
What videos?
trad wife, like traditional wife, like submissive. And it was
Oh,
interestingly
I
enough,
never
like
heard that.
religious, like in this religious context in this religious movement. And
What is that? What is that? The trad wife?
a submissive female role to the male.
Yeah, but you were already like that.
Oh, I know. Well, so he was
Like, you
reinforcing.
were already that.
As he knew that it was like so interesting how I was like waking up. The kids went to school, started going to school in August. And I started to have like 5 hours a day to myself. And it was the first time that I had this time. And it was beautiful. My meditation practice came back. My yoga practice came back.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, Joe Dispenza.
Oh, I love him too.
Oh, he's
My favorite,
amazing.
yes.
I mean, the neuro-linguistic programming. And so I was almost like as I was getting aware, he saw this and it started getting worse on him. So that's when these trad wife videos were coming in.
Oh, yeah, because he was surveilling you. So
Yeah.
he's sitting there watching you at home doing your meditations every day.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, right. Well, I mean, it's beautiful. My daughter would wake up and we would do it together. And it was this
He's seeing you
amazing
happy.
example.
He didn't like that you're happy.
Right.
And getting healthy,
Yeah.
feeling good.
So as soon as I started getting healthy and then boundaries. So like he was like, I want to take another. We'd moved into the house at this point, and sex wasn't as often as he wanted. It's like, you promised me we would move into the house and we would have crazy, and I was like, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Like we've only been in the house for like 2 weeks, and he's like, I'm taking another lover. I'm gonna do.
Oh, he would say that.
Yeah.
Just to get you to do what he wanted. Yeah.
Right. And well, and that's how would you react to it? And the jealousy piece. And, and again, my reaction is just like, thank you for telling me, let me think about this. Like if you need to go, have another partner because I'm not sexually satisfying you, I need to process this. If I can have an open relationship. And I came back and I was like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do that. And I was like, but I'll do better. But I'll do better, and that's when he sent me the OMG, yes, which is all about females, like empowerment is because I'm the problem. Like it wasn't me. And I certainly never, it was a lot.
This
like
guy
it was
is such a mind fuck.
It was, yeah.
Oh my God.
I did everything that he asked for. I mean, I felt like I was into it, but the feedback that I would get is that I'm tired and I'm not taking it seriously because I might laugh or something like that as I'm trying to get into this character. He would force alcohol and drugs. He'd be like, you need to loosen up and you need to do this. And so he would push that to get me to be more adventurous. Because again, it was me that was the problem.
Wow. Can you share what happened on your first appointment with your attorney?
Yeah. So
when you're like, I'm done.
Lasted. Yes. Yeah. So at that point, my sister was encouraging me to get a lawyer for months. Things were escalating in the fall. So that first appointment lasted 10 minutes.
Why?
Because after cutting off communication and not having a word for 3 weeks from him, he surprises me and he walks in with one of the cheapest bouquets of flowers and he demands a hug. And I'm in shock.
What was the meeting?
It was just a first introduction, first meeting with the lawyer, reached out to her and he had, in hindsight, I had no idea. Oh, what the coincidence that after 3 weeks, he shows up at my first lawyer meeting.
Not surprised.
And then, I find out later that the week prior, he flew in and was staying in a hotel and then an Airbnb with his sister, came in dressed all in black, set up surveillance and got into my computer, deleted the emails, got into my calendar so he knew when the appointment was. So he surprises me at that in the first 10 minutes of that
That's really weird.
meeting. Yeah. Yeah. And totally like, I mean, and I knew, I was like, wow. I mean, somebody had to tell him.
Trying to get you not to meet with the attorney.
Right. Or to sabotage.
Sabotage.
Right. Yeah. It's to sabotage that first meeting. All the while he spent the last week working with his attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so interesting. He filed for 50-50 joint custody. And that little box that says, is your partner a danger to the children? Not filled out. I was not a danger.
Yeah.
He had sent, before he cut off communication, he had sent a 52-page email to my family that include all private messages. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Asking for help. Like, you know, Hannah and I are on the rocks.
The smear campaign.
Oh, man. And yeah. And then he says in there, I'm a great mom. So February 19th, I'm a great mom.
Oh.
And it's so, my mom was even talking to me about this morning. In there, he's like, oh, I remember when you said, you know, to look at how I might be contributing to the situation. And I did. And I did nothing wrong.
Of course.
And it's still to this moment, it's like he's he's a victim. He's a victim in all this. And again, I'm the one who, you know,
made him do all these things.
I'm this high profile. I mean, the opening statement in the courtroom was, I'm this high profile person that I'm trying to suck money out of and ruin his reputation. And thankfully we understand that so much is projection. And so you understand what he really fears.
Everything with him is projection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's wild.
So after dropping into this meeting with the attorney, he wants to talk business. But a new triangulation begins that day.
Yeah.
Can you share who he introduced in your life and how he first positioned her?
Right. So there was a potential business partner that came onto the property right at the moment that he and I left the counseling. And it was, I had not planned this. I had not known. Okay. And she arrived to discuss doing a business opportunity. She was a social media influencer. She had a pretty good following. Ironically, she got famous through domestic violence. Okay. So she's a survivor of domestic violence and very physical, black eyes. She was suicidal in that situation, but she like empowered herself, got herself in a van and traveled. And we met her outside of Sedona and we stayed in contact with her. You know, again, it's like she found out who he was and I think she was a bit of a sycophant as he is a sycophant. So knew that she could get something out of this.
Okay.
So
she just pops up one day.
Yeah, she reaches out to me and she's like, I want to settle down. And we have this, we're back into the house. We have a 10-acre property. Again, it was his vision to have this marijuana brand, this boutique marijuana brand. So we have this 1,800 square foot gorgeous greenhouse, fully outfitted, and then also incredible gardens that he had made that were other outdoor growing, all fully plumbed. Anyway, we could. Yeah. My desire was to grow food for schools. There was this wonderful grant program for getting local farmers into school programs, and I wasn't into it because it wasn't any money. Like there wasn't any money in that. I was like, well, what about the social media aspect of it? You know, you obviously can help. She's a social media aspect of it. And that's how, you know, we can, you know, that might make money here, but we can make more money over here. Anyway, so she came on the property. We worked on that. He was so paranoid about me having conversations without him. I mean, threats. What are you up to? I'm demanding her phone number. And I didn't know, he didn't have it. And I was very reluctant to, at that heated moment, I was very reluctant to give it to him because he was abusing me verbally. And I was like, wow, I wanted to protect her. She's a domestic violence survivor. If he goes off on her, it's not going to go well. Anyway, I
So
ended
she
up,
was staying in the house?
she was in her van
In the van. Okay.
up on the property
Okay.
and hanging out. And I mean, we were just having a gay old time,
Uh-huh.
connecting, strategizing. I give him her phone number, and it was this complete turnaround
Mm.
where he was previously telling me how delusional I was for thinking about this idea. And now I was the best person in the world because I was showing this commitment to this
Okay.
project.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an absolute night and day of you can't do it to you're the best.
Uh-huh. Well, you're used to that, right?
Yeah,
He's been
yeah.
like that.
I mean, and
Yeah.
that's the craziness and the cognitive dissonance. It's like, what do I believe? What
Yeah.
are the? It's like two sides to this person. They become buddies, and they start communicating. She is friendly to me and totally manipulates me while having conversations. So when he cuts off communication with me, she knows about it, you know, and I'm like, he cut off communication. I don't know what to do. And she's like, yeah, he hasn't talked to me, which is totally false. She knew that he arrived a week early. He was sending me, you know, you're delusional. One flew over the cuckoo's nest. All the while she's buddy with me, but plotting with him as he was going to his lawyer, getting 50-50 paperwork. I'm not a danger to the kids or whatever.
So is this the new girlfriend?
Well, I mean, they had an intimate relationship. It wasn't confirmed until months later
right.
when he kicks her out for another woman.
Oh my goodness. And you're still living on the same property.
Yes. So she's there in her van. I'm in the house with the big kids. There's another woman who's in a cabin. There's another gentleman who's in a trailer at the end of the property. I mean, it's just, this could go on forever. Anyway.
So you guys aren't together anymore. You're in the process of divorce.
Yeah. Well, we were never married. He would never marry me.
Oh, that's right.
So he would, at first it was, we'll lose the Medi-Cal.
So it's just about the kids right now.
Yeah. Yeah. He would never marry me. I wasn't worthy. I had to prove that I was worthy enough, that I was a business person. He wanted a big wedding. That was an excuse. We would lose Medi-Cal because again, I'm not making any money. So the kids and I have free health insurance. So rigging the system. I never felt good about. I did not like that at all. They start plotting against me. And it escalates when he comes home, he comes into this lawyer meeting, and then I want to talk business. And I was like, why? Like, what? But can we talk about like us?
Yeah.
You know, I asked to like, give me some time.
Right.
You just now I have no idea where you just arrived. I need to calm my nervous system down. I'm a little triggered right now. So I take a shower, I meditate. And banging on the door. I'm ready. I'm ready to have this business meeting.
Banging on the door.
Yeah.
And it's not calming your nervous system down.
No. I finally am like, okay. And I go downstairs and I mean, it just turns into, again, the soapbox of like, I've done everything for you. I've jumped through fiery hoops for you. You have been plotting around my back. And then the conversation gets interrupted by this woman who is like, I wish that someone loved me an ounce of how he loves. And,
oh, wow,
and
you're
then
so
she
lucky.
bursts into she bursts into tears, and then they walk off together, and I'm just like, what is going on? So I go back up to my room, just trying to calm down. My kids are not home. They're supposed to be home. I don't know where they are. And then he starts coming in, and he's getting me in a corner now. It's like, we need to keep talking. And I was like, I don't want, like, this is we need to come together. We need to breathe. We need to de-escalate the situation. And business is not what we need to have a conversation about. He was present. She was present everywhere. He didn't want to be alone. He wanted witnesses. And this would happen, this would escalate through this weekend. He was physically intimidating. He came in and he threw this block of wood at me that was like, I love you more than anything. Threw it at me, unlocking doors.
Oh my
I was
God.
asking for space and time. And when he can de-escalate and calm his nervous system down, as I was trying to do, we can have a conversation. But it persisted. And then he bursts in, unlocks the door, bursts in and is like, the kids are staying at my parents' house tonight. And I was like, absolutely not. His mother was literally in full cast from shoulder replacement surgery. His father's been disabled for decades. And I was like, there's no way that your parents can handle a 4 and a 5-year-old. Absolutely. And I think they were 3 and 4 at this time. And so I was like, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go get them. Like, and I left. I'm on my way. I call his parents. No answer. Get there, and it's all black. No one's home. No one's answering the phone. Nothing. Get on the phone. Call parents again. Call the gentleman who had taken the kids to their house against my wishes, but following orders. Nobody would answer the phone. And I called the police to report my kids missing. I didn't know what to do, but I was trying to like be strategic as possible.
Good.
So I called them. I said, they're missing. I don't know where they are. No one's talking to me about this. Come back to the house. The woman comes out and she says they're asleep in their bed. And I look in and I can see his parents, everybody who lived on the property, all in the living room. Just,
oh boy,
you know, he's worked up. He's got these witnesses. I sneak around the back and go up, and I was just like, I'm so confused and in shock. And I go to try to go to bed, and I thankfully was not disturbed that night. The next morning I woke up 5:30, my normal practice of meditation, come downstairs. I trip over a gentleman who lives in the trailer down the end of the property, and startled, like, what are you doing in the middle of the living room? And then I see him coming out with his shirt off down the hallway towards me. He'd slept in her daughter's room and was coming out. And I just took one look at him and was like, I'm out of here. And I went back upstairs, and again, tried to decompress, did my meditation practice upstairs, my yoga meditation practice, trying to find some normalcy in this, came back downstairs, when the kids were about to be waking up to try to do their normal routine. And then it was like small banter with the woman and the gentleman, talking about turkeys. Like it was very surreal.
Like everything's normal.
Yeah. Trying to like normalize things. And, so funny. He takes the kids to school, but he claims that I was jumping in front of the car, like frantically, like not allowing him to drive with the kids away. It was really funny to hear him say that. And he had her and him corroborate that story, that I jumped in front of the vehicle and that I was running around, acting delusional and suicidal.
Yeah. He seems like he has that girl under his spell.
Yeah. I mean, again, when he wants to be charming, he can be charming and promising things. That's what the thing was.
Yeah,
and
future faking.
Yeah, so when he got the new girlfriend, he kicked her to the side, and then she emailed me and was like, I'm rescinding my story from the police. Kids absolutely need to be with you. He's driving drunk with the kids.
Oh gosh.
He is not, he's passed off all parental responsibility to everyone else. But she doesn't regret anything, which is so crazy to me.
Did he have you arrested for child endangerment? Is this around this episode?
Yes. So I called the sheriff. I was like, I feel intimidated. I feel unsafe. I'm being threatened. And they came to the property and had a conversation with me, had a conversation with the people. And they're the ones who recommended that I get a restraining order. I also called the domestic violence hotline, because I did not know what was going on. And I was, again, very intimidated, very scared. And then I called Kaiser Permanente, and I was like, I want an evaluation. I need counseling. I need children in counseling. then I connected with the Center for Violence-Free Relationships in my town and received counseling. So it was, I made this amazing proactive piece. And this is when I knew, okay, a restraining order is what was going to be necessary in this situation. And got a plan together with my counselor, filled out that restraining order paperwork on my son's birthday, and the father planned a birthday party for my son at the house. And this is like, he mentions it after he'd taken the kids, and he's taken the kids. He won't return the kids. He's now at his grandparents' house, but he's going to come do a birthday party at the house. And I put it together that it was another humiliation tactic, that he was trying to get me in one place, and I was going to get served something. I knew that it was something. And lo and behold, so that morning I went to the court office, saw what was on record, which was his 50-50 paperwork with no checkbox for a danger. And I filled out by hand a restraining order and went to the house, and then was served at that exact time. My son had an ear infection, and so he's like, I called off the birthday party sick.
Oh, yeah.
But lo and behold, that's exactly when I get served. The next day, I get my restraining orders granted. I go and I pick up my kids. And that's when the retaliatory stuff happened. That's when he brings out the videos. That's when the woman, the plotting now happens. We have to take her down, basically. So I get my kids back. I have them for a peaceful bit, and I was generous with the visitation. So I was like, gave them like 4 days a week and all day Saturday to be with the kids. And oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking. My son is screaming for me, and my mom has to take him to the location to exchange. And he kept on unbuckling himself. It's just like, I want to be with you, Mom. I want to be with you, Mom. And so she was late. He chastised her. You're 5 minutes late. Why were you late? Well, your son kept unbuckling himself, and I had to stop and get him buckled back again. First violation of 7 violations. First violation of the restraining order. He did not return the children after that. Made that exchange, went to the police. The specific deputy showed the videos to, got the gentleman, the woman, and multiple people to come together to start talking about how now all of a sudden I was neglectful. Weeks before, I was a great mom. Days before, with his attorney, no checkbox for a danger. But now I was, the accusations were wild. Like that I locked my daughter in my room, in her room, which I can't even do, and went to the bank and left her there. It's not even possible. The same woman who has experienced domestic violence herself and was suicidal in that domestic violence situation told the police that I was suicidal and that I was delusional.
But he was the one who was suicidal.
Oh, I know. Well, and she was. So it was like this projection was wild. And
he had surveillance on you for so many years. If you were a danger, couldn't you pull something?
Exactly. I mean, and that's where the judge was like, listen, it's very clear you've had these videos for years and you've never said anything.
Exactly.
Not weeks before this and days before this arrest.
That turned around and bought him in the ass, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I remember one of his coworkers who reached out to me and it confirmed a lot of some horrible things that were going on. He was just like, he's really smart. And I was just like, I don't think he's that smart.
He thinks he is.
He thinks he's real smart. And yeah, he's paranoid, but I don't. Anyway, his actions, if he would have understood that coercive control abuse was coming down the pipeline, he'd lied to his attorney. His attorney had no idea. When we brought up things in the court, his attorney would look over at him like, why didn't you tell me this? Because he got
Yeah, you're not thinking that
stuck.
far ahead.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all reactionary. And when you lie, you can't keep it together. So thankfully, the judge granted my 5-year permanent restraining order.
Thank goodness.
As soon as I asked to see my children, because he was denying it. So because of the arrest, I was put into supervised visitation with my children and limited to seeing them 2 hours a week.
Oh, that's awful.
And it was the most excruciating experience to have my children ripped from my arms, screaming for me. I mean, it was, and then what was coming out of their mouth, what they would say. And every week, the anticipation of what was being said. I have a new mommy now. Daddy yells at us every day. Daddy says that you're a liar. He killed the hamster. He didn't give Mango, their hamster, food or water, and now it was dead. Their first pet. It was just like that was a very painful 6 months process. And I interesting, and I can't speak to this because I've never been in this situation. My lawyers look at the supervised visitation notes and like, these are glowing. And the woman who did the psychological evaluation on me was like, these are some of the best notes I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, okay, so I should be able to see them more.
Right.
So put in the request, like, please, can I see my kids more than 2 hours? And it was expensive. It was $265 every week to see them. And I was banned from giving them any gifts. That was his directive. So their birthdays, no gifts. I could bring them food. And that was the only thing I could do. I could not say that I missed them because it was considered emotional manipulation. I could not cry in front of them.
It's awful.
Thankfully, the supervisor that I got paired with is an amazing woman, and she did somatic healing work. And after the first session together, she was like, what are you doing here? Are you a teacher? Like, you are so good with your kids. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you anything because that would violate, this agreement, this like 5-page agreement that I just went into. But she knew I was not in the right place.
Of course. Yeah.
And she was incredible in regards to supporting.
How long did all that last?
It was 6 months of separation.
Oh, gosh.
And I asked to see more.
A long time.
Denied. Yeah, it was. It was a very heart-wrenching. And the days that they would leave peacefully were few and far between, but I mean, the days when they would just be, literally ripped from my arms by two people had to go to do that. They go back to their dad.
Well, he has a lot of enablers in his life, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The tech people, your couple, your therapist, right? Friends, family members.
Yeah, and the owner of that supervised visitation center.
Well, how did you maintain hope that you would be able to be free of his abuse?
When I realized the freedom that I would be experiencing, not living under his directive, it was incredibly liberating. He would undermine my parenting. I had no control over money, resources, what I could do. And when I realized that I could take control of my life again, it gave me a tremendous amount of hope, just visualizing. And this is a lot of what the Joe Dispenza work really did around visualizing what you want to see in your life and connecting with it emotionally. So that was a very powerful relief. I tried to envision this like, okay, we can live as neighbors side by side and we can make this work in a peaceful way. But man, did it not go down like that at all.
Well, you don't have any control over their side.
No, no. And I mean, the placating that I was doing, I mean, it did not serve.
Well, I'm sure he always knew that you were going to get out of this and you're going to have your kids back and all
That's
that. He just
weird.
wanted to torture you, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I don't
as
know.
much as you could.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Because he
still,
didn't want to let go of any control
yeah.
that he had over you.
Yeah. Yeah. The control
But he knew
was.
you were slipping away.
And that's when things got deeper and deeper, and you'll never make it as a single mom. These trad wife videos and this one video where it's like single moms can't do it.
A lot of times we'll prefer that, this life as a single parent, right? Over the life with them.
Yeah.
Like they don't understand that.
Yes.
This is way more healthier.
Yeah.
And happier for you.
I mean, seeing my children
Yes.
with a mother who was not being abused.
Exactly.
I mean,
which is the best thing for the kids to see.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the saddest moments was when I was like, "What do you miss about your dad?" When he was gone, and they said, "Oh, I miss when he teases us about sending us to prison camp."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And that was like a normal thing for him to threaten them with abandonment, like as like in order to get them in line.
Right,
And I was like, wow, that's what he did to me. And that threatened to abandon me, leave me aside of the road. He asked me to abort my son and started packing my things. It was, I'm going to Alaska. I'm going to kill myself.
God.
I mean, it was just all these threats of abandonments to me. But with the children, it was like a game to him. Like, you have to listen to me or I'm taking you. I'm going to take you to the sheriff's office.
Yeah, well, kids take things so literal too.
Oh.
They don't know he's like messing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so scary for children.
And then it flipped to this term of endearment. I miss daddy teasing me about abandonment. And I was like, that's when the real red flags, again, I started taking this really, really seriously the fall. So, I mean, it was probably like a 5-month period where, and again, it was everything when I started having the bandwidth of having these few hours a day when the kids were in school to get a grip. And I saw it.
Yeah. Well, he worked really hard to isolate you.
Yeah.
How are you able to maintain those relationships? A strong support from home?
The strong bond with my sister and my mom. Whenever he knew that I was on the phone with my sister, he would try to get me off and like, tell her you gotta go. Tell her I need you. 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 And my sister is incredible and saw this all coming. She is did her dissertation on sex trafficked women and was knew the grooming that was going on. They witnessed, and her husband too, who's a lawyer. And he was like, he called it. He's like, she's a glorified nanny with benefits. He's never going to marry her. I could not see them very often, but we were able to have phone calls as best we could. When he was gone, I would have more freedom to be able to speak with them. But I mean, losing social media, I lost so many friendships.
How were you able to rebuild the community?
There's a few people that I trusted and I made connections with.
Good.
And then the church. And so much of my healing process has come to returning to faith, and the sweet little church in my town. I started volunteering. I introduced myself. They have a prayer card. And I was like, I'm praying for personal safety and the safety of my children in this time of separation. And they immediately were incredibly compassionate and the sense of community. The church has been a huge place. A Positive Solutions program through the Center for Violence-Free Relationships is a wonderful group of women led by two amazing facilitators.
Is that a survivor support group?
Yeah, I was a volunteer. And some of these women were court mandated to be there because they committed domestic violence. And that was such a powerful experience. I mean, it was tears every time we came
Oh, so
listening to these
good.
stories.
Mm-hmm.
And you really helped me appreciate the position that I was in, because I had an
Right.
incredible family who just like elephants came around,
Wow.
and
You're
everybody who
very
knew what it was.
lucky. A lot
Yeah.
of survivors don't have
Oh,
that. I didn't
yeah.
have that.
Had an outpouring of letters.
Mhm.
25 people wrote letters to
Aw.
the judge.
Well, I mean, you're lucky you have the family support, but the
Yeah.
survivor community is
Yep.
also very important if you can't have that family support. And that's what
Yes.
really helped me. Mhm.
Yeah. And then going online, I mean, finding, I mean,
Yeah.
amazing that your podcast came
Mhm.
forward. The, again, a lot of Joe Dispenza, Carolyn Mays, Wayne Dreyer,
Mhm.
so many teachers
Mhm.
that talk about the power of the mind.
Mhm.
And again, separating myself, identifying as a victim of
Right.
domestic violence,
Mhm.
but empowering
Mhm.
myself, understanding how I got here.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, your responsibility in it.
Yeah.
Learning about yourself, being
Yeah.
able to heal through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never want to stay in that victim mentality. You just never want to stay in that. I don't feel like you can really heal properly. You have this gorgeous
If it's
light
all
about you. You're
out.
still smiling through it, even though it's a
God,
horrifying story.
God.
You can see that you've done the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a daily practice,
Yeah.
a daily prayer
Mhm.
practice, a daily meditation
Yeah,
practice.
because you went through a lot.
It was, whew. When I wrote out a timeline of events for my lawyer, it was pretty overwhelming. And going through the shame around, like,
Mhm.
why didn't I leave?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Don't
these
beat
are some
yourself up about
big
that.
flags.
I went through that too. The shame of
Yeah.
thinking, oh, I could have left at this time, But,
Yeah. But
but he had that control over you. It's hard to break free from that.
yeah.
And with your kids and everything. So,
Yeah.
and you did. You survived.
Yeah. And I mean,
Mhm.
turning that evil for good.
Yeah,
And
you are.
just feeling so empowered to have
Mhm.
a new mission and a new calling
Ooh,
to
good.
end this intergenerational trauma that's in my
Mhm.
family.
Mhm.
And to know I've had one opportunity to speak with another woman who is in an abusive relationship, and to walk her through the process
Oh. Mhm.
and what worked and what didn't work. And that
Mhm.
was a very
Mm.
healing
Mhm.
experience to be
Mhm.
able to provide that kind of insight.
Yeah, it's very empowering when you can help others and
Yeah.
guide them through the similar situations.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for listeners at home who might be going through a similar situation of coercive control?
It's going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your life. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There's a risk of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to require an immense amount of emotional and physical energy.
Mm-hmm.
Find people to help. And there's this amazing quote from this book. It's a children's book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse.
Mm.
And in it, it says, what is the bravest thing? The boy asks the horse, what is the bravest thing you've ever said?
Mm-hmm.
And the horse says, help.
Mm.
I had another one. Asking for help is not giving up.
Mm-hmm.
It's refusing to give up.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I get chills
Mhm.
every time I really hone that in, and I feel that asking for that help from my family,
Mhm.
asking for the parenting coach,
Mhm.
asking for help from the domestic violence
Mhm.
hotline. I mean, identifying with realizing like I need this help,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I am so blessed to have been aligned with the people. Another really piece of advice is to reduce the stimulation that you have. I had to let go of all my music.
Mm.
I had to stay away from the news.
Mhm.
I was so raw and exposed. No TV. The only thing that I would watch would be, like meditation,
Right. Mhm.
visualizations, Joe Dispenza, Carolyn
Well, in
Mays, Wayne
hindsight, it's what
Dreyer.
really helped you, though.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, anything would trigger.
A lot of his stuff that he was doing to you actually backfired.
Oh, yeah,
Because if
yeah.
he just had you listening to like the housewives all day long, you probably wouldn't have the same type of like power and fury in you,
well,
you know,
sure.
that Dispenza is going to bring out in you, you
Oh
know?
man,
That,
yeah, and talking about shifting out of that
mm-hmm,
victim space and the positive
mm-hmm,
solutions program. Oh man, I got hammered when I first went in there. They wanted to
mm-hmm.
literally, they told me they wanted to rip my head off because I was so cerebral. But it was like
Yeah.
I identified as a victim, and they're just like,
Nope.
"You gotta
Mm-mm.
change." Oh, and so it was a very rude awakening.
Good.
But it was so empowering. I remember coming back after they kind of were hammering at me the first couple episodes, and I was like, I don't give a bleep what you think about me. Everyone's projection. I've dealt with
Mm-hmm.
all this projection over here. I am here to heal.
Right.
I am
Mm-hmm.
here to hold space
Yeah.
for this process.
Yes, healing is the most important part of the whole process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Putting the oxygen mask on yourself
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
so that you can serve. I mean, the kids are the ones that are in the most vulnerable place. Thankfully I had this strong foundation already. I mean, I'm a yoga teacher,
Yeah.
meditation practice was early. So I went back into that and somatic healing, deep breathing, and then taking no alcohol, substances. I
Mm-hmm.
was smoking pot when I
Mm-hmm.
was in that relationship. That
Mm-hmm.
was a way that I was numbing
Yeah, sure.
myself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, I remember my domestic abuse counselor was just like, stop. And I was like, okay. And I did completely cold turkey. And it was just like alcohol. I didn't want to rob my experience of those raw emotions. And I remember my psychotherapist is like, do you want to take medication?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It's about balancing, finding homeostasis.
Yeah, and for
again.
some people it works, but for you, I think actually what saved you the most was your meditation practices that you were so religious with doing every day,
Yeah.
because he was trying to make you batshit crazy,
Yeah.
you know, and he couldn't touch
Yeah.
you. You know, maybe a little bit here and there, you know what I mean? But
Well,
I feel like your
trigger,
meditation kept you so grounded.
Yeah.
That's what was able to really help you to realize things and get out of the situation.
Yeah. I had my moments of screaming in the car.
I'm sure.
I mean, it
How
was.
could you not?
Yeah. But as long as I had a balance, and then, and trying to find the center of the center of the center.
Because they're trying to break your spirit so bad.
Yeah.
I know. They try to break your spirit down so bad, make you go crazy, you know. There's just like 100% mind fuck all the time that you're just like losing yourself in the relationship.
Yeah.
But if you can stay
Question
grounded like you
reality.
have with your meditation practice, and also I'm very similar too, that I always felt like I had my mind was always stable. So I wasn't able to completely fall into it. Like a lot of women stay in this type of relationship forever
It's
and can never get out of it.
I was like, bleeding heart masochist. Like, I will do everything. I'm not gonna quit. It was like a badge of honor.
Yeah, you weren't a quitter. You just know when it's time to quit.
Oh man, right. So that exit is so critical. And I got that feedback from the domestic violence shelter. And so she was like, gather up your personal belongings, your computer, your personal documents, anything that you need most valuable, and have it with you at all times. Because if you need to leave, you need to get out of there and to have your own protection in place.
So what would you say are helpful ways that friends and family can show up for someone transitioning out of coercive abuse?
The most critical piece that my sister was aware of because of her work was not losing the lines of communication. And she knew that she couldn't, as a big sister, not push me into like, you are in an abusive relationship and you've got to leave.
Yeah, because you would shut her out.
I would shut her out. So that was the most valuable piece that she did, was listen and financial support, the emotional support, the financial support to help try to normalize my life as best as I possibly could, to be able to afford lawyers.
Right.
And that's so
like you had
huge. That was, I mean, my family is, I mean, they're not going to sugarcoat anything, and they keep it real. We keep it real.
Good.
So there was no enabling of any kind of behavior. It was like, you need to, get a job, and you need to like get on your feet and, pull yourself up by the bootstraps in a very kind, loving way. But we're here for you.
Good. So where are you at today in your healing journey?
It's a daily practice. Absolutely. I mean, I have to navigate this new relationship. Although he has lost legal rights and custody to his children, there's still visitation. So, and what the children still come back saying, and the parodying of abuse that is occurring, it is, I'm not out of it. It's still here, and I won't probably ever be out of it because
Yeah.
I don't, I can't
Right.
eliminate this relationship. I have to navigate it with it. So in my process, regaining my relationship with my body, physicality, and my mind, and understanding how I can decompress and I can bring my self-regulate emotionally and self-regulate when I am triggered, because that's an ongoing piece.
Right. Yeah. And feeling worthy again.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. That's, how.
Is that a yes?
Yes. I
okay.
feel, and that's
Good.
just this beautiful, as excruciatingly horrible, nightmarish of a situation. It has brought, that fire, those embers have really blossomed, like a phoenix, or, just a gorgeous garden with all this compost.
Good.
I mean, transmuting that, it's like emotional judo, taking with that evil and making it for good.
Yeah.
So,
But you don't hold on to that bitterness.
I mean, to say that it's like completely gone, absolutely not. There's plenty of moments where I get triggered. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
But I'm able to, again, this is a meditation practice, become an observer and be like, okay, that thought has just popped into my head.
Yeah, like this happened to me. I'm going to own it.
Yes.
Right.
Identify it. And then allow it to pass like clouds. And
that works for me
forward.
too. When I look at things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And always just sitting in it, and the bitterness and like hating and have you. And like that doesn't do anything, You got to be able to move through it and own it and let it go.
YouTube shorts, I spend a lot of time.
Me too.
And there's a lot of content with narcissism.
Yes.
And I'll go through waves where it's just like, no, like I can't handle it because it's a triggering event. And then there's sometimes I can listen to it and I can be like, okay, that's a good piece of information and I can identify with that. So it kind of goes back and forth.
Because it's so hard getting out of a relationship with a narcissistic sadist.
Yeah.
Not just a sadist, a narcissistic person like that you were dealing with.
It's more prevalent than you realize, than I certainly realize. I mean, there's so many words. Coercive control abuse. No idea that even existed.
Yeah,
codependency. No idea.
Me neither. Trauma bonding, didn't know.
Yeah, the trauma bonding. Right. And it's like now we can
identify it.
Right. So the education piece around Invisible Change was a wonderful book. I've ordered Narcissistic Abuse.
Yeah, a great book.
Yeah.
Vanessa Reiser's book, yes.
Yeah.
And Invisible Chains, I'm going to have that on my list.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's been, my lawyer recommended it. And it was just, oh man, was it like reading my life.
Yeah, and it helps to identify. As soon as you say something, I was like, oh, he's got those flying monkeys, right? And the future faking, smear campaign. Like every time you would say something, I would be able to say in my head, okay, that's the steps that he was doing.
Yeah. And that's their own biggest fear. So it's so much of what they do, you just realize that's what they're scared of.
He definitely does have a deep, deep abandonment wound.
Yeah.
That he's using, on other people to inflict that same pain on them.
And just getting better at it.
I can clearly see that.
His first wife, he made some mistakes or whatnot. And so now he's like perfected it with me. And now he's on to another one.
The next one and the next one and the next one.
Oh, I know. It's just like months. Yeah, he moved her in 2 months after.
That's usually pretty quick. And you too. You were 3 weeks.
I know. Well, it was just like crazy. You know, when I finally got back to the kids, they were like, my son's friends were like, you have 2 moms?
Yeah.
And I was like, nope. She just has 1.
Oh, thank God you're out of that.
Yep. And it's a process.
It is a process. But I'm very happy you were out of this, or moving out of this, and you're safe.
Yeah.
And you feel good and you're happy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding that joy, finding, yes, I remember dancing.
Yeah,
It
dancing
was one of the
again.
first things that I did that I remember feeling like myself
Yeah.
again was just
Good.
dancing.
So when you hear the powerful statement from now on, how would you end that sentence?
From now on, we are the light, a
Mhm.
beacon of warmth, of clarity to help women navigate this, and men, anyone, to navigate this
Mhm.
battlefield. It really is.
Yeah.
And we are the light.
Ooh, you're gonna make me cry. I can see that power from you. You've definitely stepped into it. Yeah.
Look who's talking.
Well, I mean, I see a lot of my story in yours.
Yeah. Someone who is.
I don't talk about it a lot because it was during my marriage, and I have kids from that marriage. So it's like they're not little babies anymore, so they're at that age. But a lot of things that you said today really touched me.
Thank you.
And I really hope it touches someone at home listening, because we're smart girls. You know, like it can happen to anybody. Don't think, oh, why did she leave? Why did she do this? Or, you know, she's this way, or judging people. You cannot judge people anymore. It can happen to anyone because these guys, people, I shouldn't just say men, are master manipulators. You know, these are what we want to avoid. So I hope you listen to these red flags. So there was tons of them there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so grateful that there is this space and there is this hope and light for women, that there is a light on the other side, and the system is going to fail you. The system is going to support you. I've had both experiences with it, but just
keep fighting.
Keep fighting.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a necessary conversation. Not just for me, I needed it. You know, but you know, for everyone listening, I really feel like you touched a lot of people today.
Thank you. I'm so much intention trying to reach the right people, the right words, to tell the right stories, to put it into a perspective that can be digestible, that can be relatable.
You were super strong. I can see it. So
I'm working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Working on it.
All our listeners at home are also working on it too. So it's something we're all going through, and we cannot have shame around it anymore.
No.
We deserve to have good, healthy love. Sometimes we just don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We want it, and we're doing the right thing. I feel like we both were doing the right thing in those relationships, but we were always doomed to lose in that. You were never going to win with that one.
No.
But we can do it.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. This has made my whole year, this conversation. Yeah.
Well, I'm absolutely in awe of what you are providing and the message that you're getting out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is what it's for.
Thank you.
This is From Now On, and I'm Lisa Phillips. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and remember, there is strength in speaking out. And special thanks to our amazing, courageous guest, Jane Doe. Elizabeth Wyndham is our senior producer, Christopher Leon is the editor, and Jose Oriana is our studio producer. Our theme music is Many Worlds by Memory Theory. If you have any thoughts, questions, or stories about your own views on topics discussed on From Now On, email us at fromnowonpod@gmail.com. And please follow, rate, comment, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If today's conversation resonated with you and you are seeking more support in your own healing journey, if you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, help is available. Call 800-656-HOPE. If you or someone you know is being trafficked, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Text 233-733. That's Be Free. PAVE is a 501c3 nonprofit creating a world free from sexual violence and building communities to support survivors. To learn more, go to shatteringthesilence.org. Speak out, act, reclaim, soar, is dedicated to providing a safe and empowering space for survivors of sex trafficking to reclaim their stories and stand up for themselves and each other. That's www.speakoutactreclaim.org.